Yesterday, we discussed the concept of parasitic storytelling, where a corporation will take an already established and highly popular IP and decide to make a sequel or a prequel to it. And while the IP maintains its name, more often than not, the writers involved with the original production are going to be excluded from the parasitic storytelling production. As such, we can notice not only a major drop in the quality of the storytelling, but also the soul and the original concept of the IP will be completely lost. And the end product is going to be mediocre compared to the original one. So, how do companies manage to sell the mediocre idea to the public? The most popular, if not the only way that companies try to accomplish this, is through the process of fan baiting. A process that was pioneered by the Disney Corporation and later on fully embraced by the Amazon company. But before we go into what fan baiting is, we should ask ourselves, what is a fan? A fan is a person that attaches themselves to an IP to the point of becoming a fanatic. This means that the person will, more often than not, have the IP as part of his own identity. He will purchase a lot of merch belonging to that particular IP. He will start talking with other people about the IP, as well as try to encourage his friends and family to give that IP a shot, to try to watch it, to promote it. So as you can notice, fans are what drives a company to success. They not only provide a source of recurring revenue by purchasing merchandise associated with the brand, but they also provide free publicity. The problem is that, as I mentioned before, many fans like to take the IP as part of their identity. And as such, they get very involved with the established lore and the immersion that the IP provides. In other words, fans get often upset when even small changes to the brand happens. Whether the costume of their superhero has changed to something they disapprove of, or even the hairstyle of a superhero is different, this is enough to cause controversy among the fandom. And this is where the fan baiting marketing strategy comes in. Fan baiting, as I mentioned before, is a marketing tactic employed by corporations, usually involving not only people from the production team and marketing department, but also part of the cast. And its whole purpose is to initially create shock value through the fandom. You see, before the trailer is even released, before we even know about the story of the newly planned reboot or sequel, the production team is going to announce a very peculiar casting choice, something which completely breaks the already created immersion from that universe. Whether they decide to completely gender swap the actors or whether they decide to race swap some actors, the choice is obviously going to create controversy. Now, when you have a major blockbuster film which has millions of people interested, and especially when you latch on to an IP that was already popular, out of the hundreds of millions of comments that are going to be on the internet, some of them are going to be negative. Some of them might even be racist or sexist in nature. And it's exactly these comments that the marketing team of corporations hope that they will receive. Because the moment those comments happen, they will polarize them and they will frame them in the hopes that within the current political climate, which is already very divisive, the mainstream media is going to provide nonstop coverage talking about how multimillionaire actors are having a difficult time navigating the internet because of harassment. In recent media articles, the alleged racist or sexist posts aren't even shown to the public anymore. Just the claims that they exist are enough to get the mainstream media involved. And of course, the journalists never wonder why is it that these multi-millionaire people, which probably have their own manager to manage their social media accounts, cannot seem to find the report button, or they cannot seem to find the block button. As such, it's customary within this type of marketing strategy that an actor involved with the production of the film is going to leave social media. They will probably shut down their Twitter account for a short while or their Instagram account. And this is enough for the mainstream media to then make a series of articles decrying how evil and toxic the fan base is. The main purpose of this tactic is to terrorize critics into believing that any negative things they have to say about the movie is going to lump them in with the racist, sexist bigots who were responsible in getting the multi-billionaire actor to terminate their Twitter account. In other words, if you have anything negative to say about the movie, then the media can use guilt by association and imply that you are responsible for all the racism or sexism that the particular actor has received. And as such, since you're a racist, sexist bigot within the current political climate, you need to get deplatformed. Maybe some people need to look into your previous posts to see if you didn't say an edgy joke or a metaphor that's taken out of context in order to justify having your account shut down. As such, many critics are going to be silent about any negative criticisms because they are afraid of losing their jobs. I remember when Black Panther came out, a critic had the audacity to give that movie a 9 out of 10. And immediately we saw articles popping up demanding that critic provide explanations for why he had the audacity to ruin the perfect score of that movie. Within the current political climate, honesty and integrity are not being promoted. What is promoted is allegiance to the narrative. Now, as you can notice, many official critics are going to be afraid to speak out. But it also serves a different purpose. The studios, using the vast amount of press coverage, can now seize the opportunity and discredit criticism of poor writing and acting, insinuating that these are, of course, motivated by evil trolls online. And it's due to the toxic fandom that the movie is getting a poor review, not because of any other reason. And this is now standard practice in much of Hollywood. As we can see, Disney is the one leading the charge at this type of behavior, but recently Amazon is doing so as well. And the reason for this is very simple: profits. Not only these studios can profit by choosing not to hire veteran writers that probably cost a pretty penny, they also don't have to hire veteran actors. They don't have to spend as much money on marketing as the press simply writes articles about sexismus and racismus within the fandom, generating free publicity. Furthermore, the people on Twitter that constantly talk about the project, whether in a positive or negative light, are also generating buzz. The studios can then have the justification of removing negative reviews without being called out by the press that they are having a conflict of interest by removing grades from websites that their parent company also happens to own. And some people may claim that this also has to do with them raising their ESG score and getting more investment money in the future. But regardless of speculations, to put it in another way, it's clear that big corporations have found a way to monetize the racism and sexism that they set up their own actors to receive in order to push a cheap product on the market and shut down any type of dissent. It is very interesting how in the American zeitgeist, people who defend the product of multi-billion-dollar corporations get to feel as if they are helping the marginalized. They get to feel probably the same way that our grandparents' generation felt when someone was feeding the poor or was helping the homeless. Except now, they are helping trillion-dollar corporations like Disney. Haha!